Yeah.
Good evening to you, Sir Dennis.
Well, and to you, good evening.
Yes. I have a little bit of a throat condition. I hate it when podcasters say, "Oh, I sound funny," but I suspect that I probably do, so I will not apologize for it, because I sound like I have more gravitas. Gravitas.
Well, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing, because you're basically without it.
Right.
Most of the
Normally,
time.
I have levitas.
None.
Now I
You
have
what?
gravitas. Normally, I have levitas, and now I have gravitas.
Levitas. Your feet flying off the air. By the way,
Yes.
did you see the Elton John movie, or did you ask me that 2 weeks ago?
The
Elton John movie called...
I've heard about it. I'm going to guess Rocketman?
Rocketman, yes.
Yes, sweet.
I surprised into it. Did you see it?
No, I know that it was being created, and it was sort of like following on the heels of Bohemian Rhapsody as a
Right.
70s pop biopic.
Yes. But I will tell you this.
Or as some people
It's one
say,
of the reasons-
biopic.
Biopic,
like
It's
myopic.
one of the reasons that I delayed in seeing it, because I was so busy watching Bohemian Rhapsody again and again. I was on an airplane, finally beat everybody out of the poker game I was in, the Texas Hold'em game.
On the airplane?
Yeah, 7 other players, and won it all and quit. I had an hour left, so I turned on the movie screen.
You're playing via the screen in front of you, or you had
don't know where they are.
you had a poker table there with cigars and stuff?
Yeah, well, we tore the seats out, and we built a circle, and we nailed them back in with spikes. And we made a makeshift table out of
As long as your
luggage.
seatbelts are fastened. Because
Yes,
if
it was on the screen.
if
How did you ever get through grade school? I know you didn't make high school.
if the
They
turbulence
sent you to
like
special school.
throws your chips into
Funny
the
when
air,
they name a school for people like you, they name it a fancy name and act like it's a good thing.
if your chips fly into the air with the turbulence, it's like, wait, that wasn't my bet. Yeah, that could be trouble. Anyway, so you won a bunch of money in the sky,
Anyway, it's about the movie, man.
and you were watching the movie.
And I turned to the screen, and there pops up Rocketman, and I say, oh, yes, I'll watch that. It grabbed me from the first second. I couldn't believe it. It was so unusual. And by the time it was over, I didn't want it to end. It was that good.
I am not surprised.
The screenplay being first and foremost what I'm speaking about, which would have been useless without the great acting and just the choreography is astounding. It's a very surprising movie. You love it. But remember that you said, I didn't say it, you said it, that you don't have gravitas, you have
Levitas.
what?
Levitas.
Levitas, because you levitate. Remember that image.
Well, when I'm in space, I do, yes.
Remember that image.
Which is rarely.
Come back.
Speaking of space, I saw Ad Astra.
Oh, did you?
Have you?
No, the trailer and a deep commitment to see it with my wife.
I went on it was a very awkward time for me because it was super late at night, the night before I was flying somewhere early in the morning. But as a commitment to our listeners and to you, Dennis, I sacrificed myself to go
so
see
altruistic.
it. And because
Saint Eric.
because in Spain, there's only normally one or maybe two showings of an American film that is in English. As they
Yeah, right. So got to get it while you can get it.
as they call it in the standard in the original audio, and with Spanish subtitles. But so yeah, I saw it, and we will talk about it some other time after you
When
have
I've
seen
seen
it.
it, perhaps.
Yes, if you ever get your act together and
Actually do something.
respect
preparation.
our listener and go and prepare for this recording. But anyway. That will be sometime in the future. Ad Astra.
Ed Astral. Ed.
Ad Astra.
That's the name of the main character, Ed Astral.
No, that's the name of the movie.
Ed Astral.
No. I think it's Latin. I think it means to the stars. Or something.
It didn't have a Latin accent. What is a Latin accent? What the fuck? You don't know. I don't know. What's a Latin accent?
I mean, I can talk like a Latino. That is not the same, no? Like the Latino is not the same as the Latin. No.
No. Latinx, no.
No. The Latino and the Latina, I don't know. Yes, who knows what the Latin accent sounds like? Because there aren't any native speakers.
They're gone. They're all dead. You know why?
Because they went to the stars?
Well, it's Greek to me.
That's funny. Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
They don't know why. They're all dead. Think of that. You know why? Because they spoke Latin. That's the punishment.
It's a dead language.
They got. Right. You want to speak a dead language? Then you're dead.
Yeah.
That's what God said in his infinite wisdom. Or her infinite wisdom, I'm sure. I'm sure God's a woman. What else would explain all this?
Well, you have a lot to answer for that statement. Very good. And then you got your pig Latin. Igpe Atin-lay, which must be offensive to so many people, but and also just stupid on itself. But there it is.
Latin?
Pig Latin, yeah.
It's popular culture.
Pigs, yeah.
Do you remember the song that used the form of pig Latin?
No.
Bo, bell, banana, fana, fo, fel, be, by, bo, bell. Just put in a person's name.
Hello, who is it?
Hello?
That's not pig Latin.
That's not me.
That
Was it you?
That's the name game. That's not pig Latin. Fofo, banana, fana,
form of
fana.
pig Latin.
No.
Eric, Bo, Eric, banana, fana, fo, Eric.
No.
That's pig Latin. It's form of pig Latin.
Well,
it's a subcategory.
You are totally
Pig Latin on your name.
You're totally engrais about that.
Don't make me sort through this. You tell me in pig Latin your name.
Ooh, mine's tough because it starts with a vowel. I'm gonna go with Ricky. I don't know. It's not easy as Ennisday. That's easy because you start with a consonant.
Ennisday?
Ennisday.
Okay, so
it's like Namaste, but
same thing as Eric, Bo Derek,
no.
Amana, Fofik, Fee Fi Foic, Eric Day.
Wrong.
See, it comes out the same.
I mean, whenever I do yoga, I say Ennisday.
Oh, you do.
And
you do yoga?
No.
You should be good at it with the freaking ankle and foot rolling out of your forehead.
No,
you do
I don't.
A true headstand, and everyone else in the class is angry at you for having an extra appendage.
Well, I don't do it in classes, but if I did, I'm sure they would be very angry.
Because you're very private about it.
Yes.
A little odd wearing that top hat at that angle everywhere you go. Everywhere.
Oh, I have some content to discuss with you.
Anecdotes?
No. Well, this is a thing that I've had for a couple weeks now that I forgot to share with you. Your topic that you prefer that I not ever bring up again? Bats?
Bats?
There's an article that says that researchers have translated, using computers, how bats talk to each other. And basically, they're all the time saying, they're just arguing with each other. They're like, get out of this is my spot. I want to, move. And that's the way that whenever they're roosting, they are just pretty much pissed off with each other, as all roommates are with everyone. It's just, hey, move over there. I want my space.
Yeah.
So I thought that might be good for you to know that your bat that lives in your walls is probably angry with you.
Well, that's a nice bridge to cause me worry and anguish. I do appreciate you making that connection. It wasn't obvious to me or our listener where you were headed. I'm glad that you were absolutely clear about it. Well,
I'm sure that your bat hates you as much as you hate it.
I don't hate my bat.
Well, he doesn't hate you either.
I want to project what?
He doesn't hate you either. He just wishes you gave him a little bit more space.
I gave him a whole wall. I gave him the walls all in my house.
Well,
there's a lot of.
You got to be a considerate roommate.
What if he's another one in there and they're mating and there's going to be little ones? Oh my God.
Well, wouldn't that be a happy coincidence?
Yeah. I have to move to the basement. What did the comedians say? That the bats of the world are responsible for all the French toast in the world?
Yes.
Said that.
Well, So, you gotta cut him some slack, some bat slack.
Yeah. Bat slack. Oh, so I went to the Voice of the Wetlands Festival here in Louisiana. Now podcasting, as it were, from
the
cloudy
deep
and
south.
humid New Orleans, Nolens. And I took a picture of the bass player from Tab Benoit's band that pretty much runs this Voice of the Wetlands Festival, and a picture of the sun set that night, and you combine them into a picture, which needs you to post all three of those. It was quite the...
All three, just the final result, I think, would be just fine. And that was very minimal Photoshop work that I did there. That was, like 4 minutes to cut people out and put them in front of another background. But thank you for your appreciation. So you tell me about this festival?
Oh, so it's 2 stages, big stage, little stage, Homa, blues, rock and blues, country blues, Cajun music, Zydeco.
Wait.
Some...
Zydeco?
Zydeco.
Zydeco. What is that?
Zydeco. It's a type of a music. Fiddle, Cajun music.
Fiddle, Cajun music.
Accordion, squeeze box. Sorry about that.
Okay, I don't know what that is, but it will be in the show notes. A link to whatever the Zydeco is.
So listen to Waylon Thibodeaux. And I don't know what the name of his band is, but he's from Homa, and he plays not only good Zydeco Cajun music, he just cut an album that is called Zydeco Blues. And he marries the two genders with his electric fiddle, which, as you know, fills the same musical space as a harmonica. But with an electric fiddle at his hands, amazing. But then you'll get an idea of both.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture. He's got a little die on his fiddle, the singular of dice. He's got a couple. Wow, what a weird fiddle shape. That's the thing with electric instruments. You don't need all of that echo chamber area that you need for an acoustic. It's just a stick. Wow, he's got the.
So the other.
Oh man,
so he was there.
He's got the suits of a deck of cards on his in guitar I would say fretboard on the neck of his fiddle, but they're in the wrong order. It's hearts, clubs, diamonds, spades, which as a bridge player that just annoys me that people put those out of order. But anyway,
because it should be spade, clubs, diamonds, and hearts.
No, it should be spades.
Or spades, hearts, diamonds, hearts.
Try again.
Spades and hearts. Clubs and diamonds.
Oh, spades, hearts, diamonds,
diamonds and clubs.
Yes. Which is awkward because in your hand when you want to sort them, you want to alternate red and black, but in the order that it is in bridge, it's black, red, red, black. But anyway, I will forgive Waylon for this horrible mistake on his instrument.
He played a good number of songs from his album, which you can post. Also, who was there is Josh Garrett, who cut an album not terribly long ago, I think, called Queen. Maybe it was Queen Bee. Queen of the Bee. Josh Garrett, Garrett. Honey and the Queen. Maybe Honey and the Queen might be it.
Josh Garrett is a blues singer and guitar player from New Roads, Louisiana.
That's him.
Okay. He looks like he knows what he's doing.
Got an album.
Okay.
Honey and the Bee. Honey and the Queen. He was there, played a good part of his album. And those two men I met up in a bar in Baton Rouge on an open mic jam night.
Those two men, Waylon and Josh?
Waylon Thibodeaux and Josh Garrett.
Yes.
Who were formed a duo.
Yes.
And they showed up at this bar with 8 patrons and broke out their instruments and said,
"That's more than we have.
Anybody bring their instruments?" Like 2 people said yes, including me. We played together all night.
Nice.
It was one of the most enjoyable. Then another harmonica. I talked about this before.
When was this?
The other harmonica player. Over a year ago.
Yeah, you mentioned that there was another harmonica player one time where you...
Right. It was a little awkward.
Yeah. You felt threatened. And you took him out back.
People feel that one harmonica...
And you stabbed him with a shiv.
let alone 2.
Yes. Well, that sounds lovely. I wish I could have been there to hear that.
But those guys each played independently, and then there's another guy you can link to. His name is
Yeah, that guy.
Jonathan Longhorn.
That's a
And
great
he's
name.
a guitar player, probably out of New Orleans, is my guess. And what a voice on this dude. But he and Josh Garrett put together a band that was mesmerizing. These two great guitar players. And Longhorn has a voice like, he reminds me of Charlie Daniels. He looks like Charlie Daniels to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of fun. Tab was there, played his heart out. They had the guitar battle one night with 8 different guitarists up on stage.
So you're having a good time, it sounds like.
Yeah, and they have an all-night jam. I didn't make it to either one of the 3 of them again. And we need 2 cars.
So what does all night mean?
From the time it starts at about midnight until the sun comes up.
All right.
Sun comes up, people go home.
Okay, that seems reasonable.
And it's when I'm the driver for a couple of people, and it's 15-minute drive to the hotel. I have to go home, drop them off, and come all the way back.
Right.
Then hang out and drink some more, which isn't wise by that point.
Well, I mean, if you got 7 hours to go.
Well, right, a lot can happen, but I don't ever expect to make it that long. I don't have that temperament anymore. It used to be a day when I wouldn't think twice about it. Couldn't. My body would say, "Yo, man, we're up for this all night. Sure, let's go."
Yeah.
Now, I fall asleep on my feet. I fall down asleep.
Okay, Dennis is not a young man anymore.
What? What'd you say?
Grab your walker and move over closer to the microphone.
What'd you say?
Come on, Grandpa.
What?
Yes. Anything else happening down in the South?
I saw a gator. It's always mystical proportions, seeing the size of these beasts gliding through the water on the lookout for live things to eat and their incredibly strong jaws.
Sounds
So we were on
interesting.
not this trip, but one trip, we were went to a rental on a man-made but very wonderful wetlands where alligators were abundant. And our skipper, so we're on a 12-man aluminum flat-bottom boat, 12-man,
That's a dozen men.
flat bottom, big motor in the back, him running it.
Mm-hmm.
He pulled suddenly up on shore and only alerted us by saying, "Hold on." And he ran up on the shore very gently,
Yeah.
barely a bump, flat bottom boat, grassy shore,
Yeah, but
and to show us an alligator nest where they
they have
live.
nests.
They do.
Okay.
And they're mud and,
Where they care for their young.
material, weeds. Little did he know that when he did it, he disturbed the 14-foot alligator who turned suddenly and jumped toward the boat,
Ruh-roh.
and only by the grace of God missed the boat just barely and landed in the water next to the boat,
That would have been fun if it had landed in the boat.
being as long
14 foot as the boat, yes.
he would have landed not in the boat, but on the boat.
Both
and
in-
his head and jaws would have been right at the miscreant who was at the helm, who dangerously took us ashore and disturbed her,
Uh-huh, right.
but it rolled in the water, came up a second later and stuck its big ass jaws out of the water, just went, and it was like, I was on that side of the boat,
Yeah.
looking right at it. and I
Message
was like,
received.
whoa, whoa. And this guy was so flummoxed, sweating and trying to recover, and just kind of backed away, and we left. And it's like, what just happened? Did we just almost, what?
Yeah, taking people on a
Cross the
tour to go see the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then when half of your tour participants are eaten, that must
We
be
could
that
make a
must be
movie
rough.
about something like that.
We could. We're like you could bring back dinosaurs from
Yes.
like DNA with amber or something.
Something like that.
We'll work on that.
By pouring on the amber beer.
Yes,
We do it like,
exactly. Michael Crichton didn't know what he was talking about.
no.
It's all the amber beer is the secret to recovering the DNA.
It needs to be headlined by Butthead and Beavis. Are they around anymore? Butthead and Beavis.
Wow. Try again.
Beavis and Butthead.
There you go. You got it.
Three tries to charm.
Yeah, that was a phenomenon, wasn't it? And
Most obnoxious laughter imaginable.
Yeah, me.
and the creator of that, who has gone on to just do amazing things, Mike Judge, like what he captured there, I don't know. It I never really adored Beavis and Butthead, but
Right.
but
They were too annoying.
but the hook into the humor was there.
Yeah.
That later he fine-tuned with King of the Hill,
more accessible
and
characters.
one of my very favorite movies is Office Space. Have you seen Office Space?
Yeah.
I had a job when I was in my 20s where I would come home, and I think there were weeks where I would watch Office Space after work, maybe 4 days a week, because it was just so cathartic to see, because my job so closely resembled that of the protagonist, and it was just so nice and
Live.
and yes, it gave me some levitas, and and since then, like, his latest work is a TV show called Silicon Valley. Have you seen that at all?
Oh yes,
It is so good.
It has some great moments. I followed it for a while, and then for some reason I couldn't anymore. I think I was on a traveling trip. I might have been binging on it a little bit in a hotel or something. I can't remember, but yeah, I liked it. I liked the comedians.
And that's also, again, 20 years later, right in my wheelhouse of internet cloud computing jargon, tech jargon, that is exactly the way that people in my industry talk and act. And it's like all good comedy, it's taking something that is known to people and pushing it into the absurd, in the same way that good sci-fi is taking something that is scientifically possible and then, like, saying, what if we could actually, recreate the DNA of a dinosaur? Mike Judge does the same thing of, pushing this craziness of venture capital bullshit in Silicon Valley to its extent, and I really adore that show. And I think it's about to come on into its last season, which is very sad for me.
I didn't know if it was still there. It was. It helped to have a history with the show and the characters, because when I went back to it and I had missed a bunch, a little harder for me to follow and catch up. But of course, that's what a series is about. To build on it.
There are series that are very episodic, like Law and Order or something, where every episode starts with its own premise, and you can watch them out of order. And other ones that have a character arc where it's important that you know that so and so has been fired from this company, et cetera, et cetera.
So have you seen the Netflix series Ozark?
No, I've heard about it.
I've seen every episode, 2 seasons. It just got re-upped.
I've heard very good things about it.
It's very good, and it's very unusual.
Yes, it's
very authentic.
It involves,
very authentic.
It involves some murders or something?
Indeed.
Okay.
No spoilers here, but I just watched, after a hiatus of 4 months, the only episode I've never seen, which is the conclusion of season 2, which I just saw last night or the night before.
I heard that there was one season that concluded in a way that blew everyone's mind. I don't know if it was that one.
This would be it.
Yeah, okay.
This would be it. And it just makes me salivate on the next season, because things have changed.
Nice.
Things have changed. And I know the area of the world, the Ozarks, where they are. I've fished down there and traveled down there, and that helps to understand the context and all that. But it's great stuff.
Nice.
It's great stuff.
The latest popular culture show that I've seen has been Fleabag. Have you heard of this?
I've only heard of it because I listened to the opening monologue of Saturday Night Live, and the creator and star of that was the person.
Yes.
And because I didn't have any context, while I thought that she was funny because she acted funny and people laughed, I didn't really understand it much.
Right. So have you heard of or seen the TV show Killing Eve?
No. That
is also very, very good. It's a the elevator pitch is it's a spy versus spy with two women, where one is an American who's working, although she's working for the British MI6 or whatever, and the other is and her nemesis is a sort of a hit woman for the Russians, and it's a hit person. Yes, we need to clean up this sort of language.
They, them, and theirs. Hit people.
She's a hit people, and it's very, very good. But and it plays on a lot of this thing that you couldn't get away with even 10 years ago, of this sort of feminine sexuality aspect of life and power struggles and stuff. And I did not know this, but it was created and written and directed by the creator, writer, and director and star of Fleabag. So that woman that you saw on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, no shit.
She created this other show. And as such, a couple months ago, she walked away with 3 Emmys for both shows.
What's her name?
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah.
Is her name. And she, in Fleabag, and the amazing thing about Fleabag is that it's just the 2 seasons, or as they say in England, 2 series, and it's like 5 episodes each. So there's only 10 episodes in total.
Is intentionally 10, or? And
that is the end of it, because it was an adaptation from a comedy, one person play that she wrote to perform over 1 hour somewhere, and that was her play of this sexually liberated Londoner, looking for love, and it became, and so she first performed that on stage somewhere, I think in Edinburgh maybe, and then she wrote it to be, she fleshed it out to be a TV series. So there's 12 episodes, and it is just so tight and good. And
Killing Eve?
No. That was her other show that she wrote. The one that she stars in is called Fleabag.
Fleabag.
And
is that the 12 episodes?
Yes, 12 episodes. And the gimmick that she does throughout the show is that she breaks the fourth wall. She's in a scenario where she's talking to, and then she turns to the camera and she's like, these people really think that I'm about to do this, whatever I'm about to do. And then she turns around and then talks. And so it's this whole, which I've never seen done in that way.
Like so thoroughly?
Yes. So
it's usually done as an aside or a
right, but this
once or twice.
But this totally, and sometimes she just like throws eyes at the camera and is like, sort of rolls her eyes like, really, this guy's about to say this thing, and it serves this purpose of connecting you to the character in a way that you really feel her emotions. And her character doesn't actually have a name. Like in the subtitles, her name is Fleabag, because like that's the name of the show. But like she doesn't have she's never named by any of the other people in the show, which is very clever. It's very much like theater, where you're looking at something happening on stage, and sometimes the actor looks to the audience and says, "Can you believe this is about to happen?" And then goes off and does whatever. So I highly recommend it. It's very, very good. And I think those first 3 Emmys are just her first. She's going to do way more in the future.
Her name again is Phoebe.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Waller-Bridge.
So you think of Trump wants to build a wall, and then the Mexicans are going to build a bridge over the wall. So Waller and then a bridge or something. I don't know.
No, they won't. Best wall ever. It was a perfect call. It was perfect. We never said anything about that.
Greetings, podcast listeners. I'd like to break the fourth wall for a moment and talk directly to you. Dennis and I have a lot of fun making this show, but podcasting takes equipment, time, and energy. If we're going to sustain this show for the long term, we need some help from you. Think about it like this. We're giving you roughly 4 hours of content every month. How much is 4 hours of entertainment worth to you? Think about other things that you pay for to be entertained for 4 hours, like 2 movies, or a round of golf, or a weekly yoga class, or maybe a concert. That's the level of support we'd like from you. If you find our discussions entertaining, we'd really appreciate any support you can afford to give. Please, if you can't afford to give money, don't. But if you can, to donate, go to happyhour.fm and click on the red Become a Patron button at the top, and then choose a tier that you'd like to support us at. Thank you very, very much. Now, back to the nonsense.
So, okay, now that we're derailed, did you see the other day where he ended a tweet with "Impeach the Pres"? Like, he was talking about something, and then he just left it with, "You should impeach the president." Like,
he wrote. Say it again. He wrote. It ended up with the words what?
"Impeach the Pres" at the end of one of his tweets. Like, I mean, this is his way of mocking what everyone is saying in the media, but like, it wasn't, his whole tweet wasn't about that. It was about something else, and then we just ended it like, these Democrats or whatever, impeach the Pres. So
he reminds me of a gravedigger that knows that he's going to die the next day, and he can't dig that hole deep enough.
Except that he doesn't really believe it. I think we're going to get through. We're going to get through all 4 years. He's not going to be impeached.
No.
And
He's not going to be reelected either.
Well, one would fucking hope not, but
No, there's nothing. I will never say again. It's impossible to imagine, but I know this: that the disenfranchised people of this country who did not vote will make all the difference that we need. Who realize that by their lack of action on the vote,
so they're
responsible.
They're not disenfranchised. They self-disenfranchised.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe we'll see. I don't know.
So what do they say about him over in Spain? They like him?
They laugh at me. They say, "What the fuck is your clown king doing now?"
Oh, right, clown king. Yeah.
They're just like, what have you done? And also, I said this before, but they don't really understand how stupid he is, because they're hearing all of his words through a translator.
Right.
And the translator has to take the bullshit he's spraying out of his mouth and form it into grammatically correct Spanish, right? So it's the translator's, if the translator translated it into just nonsense Spanish as it is nonsense English, they would get fired. So they have to, like, they put some, they pad it to make it sensical and as much as it can be with the content.
Like, this is what he meant to say, or
yeah,
this is what he should have meant to say.
Right. Well, like when he says, we're going overseas is the best, and we're going to win, and winning is what we win best, win, etc. And they have to take that and like make a proper sentence out of that, out of those words.
I would think that it would be a word by word translation.
Yeah,
I'm surprised to hear this.
No, but I mean, it's their job to try and make this person make sense. I don't know. I haven't actually
say stuff that people can understand. That crosses the line, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We're about to explode over here in Europe with ELD Brexit. So we'll see what the fuck that happens at the end of October.
What happened to the new Brit Prime Minister? What's his ass? Boris.
Yeah, his both of his names are ridiculous. Boris and Johnson. When I hear people saying Johnson said this, Johnson said that, no offense to our listeners named Johnson, but it just, like, that doesn't sound like the name of a leader to me. And I don't know. We've certainly had presidents with that name, but still, it feels...
Yeah. Are you making reference to your Johnson? Is that what's made you suddenly uncomfortable? You seem to be stumbling around here, but is that what you mean? Because when you hear his name, you think about your dick.
I was saying.
Do you know what that is? You know what that's for? This podcast.
What sort of crazy... Anyway, I was making reference to the fact that we've had a president called Johnson. His first name was Lyndon.
Oh, I know that.
Linda.
But why were you saying that Johnson isn't the name of someone that you want to be your leader? It's
right.
Because you were thinking of your own Johnson.
Well, yeah, I don't want to follow that particular member of parliament, so to speak. But there's no
I'm
leadership.
clear about the member part. The parliament part, I'm not quite sure. Who exactly are you sitting with?
Well,
why are there 248 of them?
There are many voices in my...
Many voices, but few are heard.
Indeed. Yeah, so, I don't know.
When many voices speak, few are heard. Write that down. When many voices speak at once, few are heard. It's a famous saying.
Okay. I will write that down. Everyone listening to this, pause your
Let's make
podcast
that our
player.
subtitle of our podcast.
Many listeners? Wait, we don't have many listeners. What was it? We're not heard if we don't have many listeners.
When,
We're not talkers.
I can't remember. When voices shout together. No.
When we have many listeners, no one is listening.
Are speaking, nobody is heard. No.
Okay, well, it's a good thing there's just the two of us.
No one is speaking. Everyone is heard.
There you go. If everyone just shuts the fuck up, everyone will be heard.
Well, that's nice. Now we're not a family-oriented podcast as of this moment.
Because we were before.
Well,
You're the one talking about Johnsons and stuff. I mean... How do you feel about world politics and the freedom of Hong Kong, man? Because
I'm down with what the people want.
Yeah, well,
Put me down at that table. Seat me with them, the people.
Yeah. So the conflict this week has been that China has been using its influence in the way that Trump wishes that he could to force American entities like Apple or the NBA or something to not talk about Hong Kong. So because there's all these protests in Hong Kong, and there was an app on the Apple App Store that could let people anywhere in the world see where the protests and where the counter-protest measures were happening in Hong Kong. And China told Apple, hey, take that off the store. And Apple did.
Oh!
But like it's such a mixed situation because Apple both gives so much business and money to China and enjoys the cheap labor that provides, but also they have a whole bunch of iPhone customers and stuff in China. So it's this really complex battle of wits between do you prefer capitalism and profit, or do you prefer supporting free speech and democratic values? And all the different Silicon Valley companies are falling on different sides of this issue.
It's not even a question for them. Their motivation to be in China in the first place is nothing other than profit. They're not social workers.
Right. But some of them, like Facebook and Twitter, were prohibited from being in China because China didn't want that much free speech. So they are enjoying this we're not supporting that regime at all because we're not in China at all. Whereas not because they didn't want to be, but because China didn't let them. And
spun it.
Right, and then now they've spun it. So it's complicated. One would, like, for example, Apple did some stuff around privacy where, for example, when they had the San Bernardino mass shooting, where the FBI said, "Hey, Apple, this iPhone of the killer is encrypted.
Got stuff on it. Right.
Can you decrypt it for us?" And Apple
said yes, but we won't.
And Apple said no. And in fact, I think at that point they could have, but since then they've made it so that they cannot, even if they wanted to. So which is like it's such a mixed bag because with privacy, like it's great to have end-to-end encryption where I can send you something and no one between me and you can read it. But on the other hand, you can't have that and also what people demand of Facebook, where they want people to police hate speech.
Yeah.
Because if you want Facebook to police hate speech, then Facebook has to be able to see all of the chatter. But if you want them to see all the chatter, then it's not encrypted. And if it's not encrypted, then they can see whatever and they can potentially control everything. So it's this balancing act of, do you want to be able to have private speech, or do you want to be able to control, hate speech? Like,
right.
So
either one or the other, right?
So it's
horns of a dilemma.
Exactly. The horns of a dilemma. We're grabbing the horns and we're being thrust into the air by the dilemma bull.
Bull dilemma.
Bull dilemma. Dilemma. The question.
Good name for a child.
Bull dilemma.
I want you. Oh, we have a new baby boy. Oh, what did you name him? Bull.
His middle name is Dilemma.
Bull dilemma. And they would turn their head ever so slightly as if they were a dog hearing a loud whistle from afar.
Right.
And wonder what in heaven's name you're talking about.
I mean,
test it out.
It's better to be bullish than bearish, right?
It is.
So
exactly right.
You don't want to call your kid Little Bear.
Big Bear.
I mean, if you've got two kids and you name one of them Big Bull and the other one Little Bear,
no,
I think you know how their futures are going to play out.
Right.
So.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. Well,
that's the thing.
So let's not do that.
Let's not.
Let's not encourage that in our families. Those names. Well, what do you want to name your new grandchild? Little Bear. That would go. Little Bear.
I mean, what's the guy that is always the guy on TV that's always doing nature stuff and drinking his own piss and stuff? His name is Bear something or other. You know who I'm talking about?
He is a bear. Drinking his own piss. That's how you nudge the memory of someone about this man. Is that it's what he's known for, drinking his own piss?
I swear to you, anyone listening to me that knows who this person is, Bear. Look, I typed in Bear into my browser and it completed his name. Bear Grylls. He's 45 and he's a former British SAS serviceman. And he has this TV show where he goes out into nature and like picks up snakes and defends himself against all this shit. And for sure he drinks his own piss because he's like the premise of the show is, look, if you were stranded out in the wilderness, this is how you would survive.
Right.
And so he teaches all of these things. So
good to know. There's a show like that in the States too, but it's Australian. Who is the adventure guy who is exuberant in his demonstrations of...
You're not talking about Steve Irwin.
Yes.
Yeah.
He got injured by an animal and was in desperate shape for a while and recovered.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you about this. No, he's dead. He was killed by a stingray.
When?
He was killed by a stingray in 2006.
Oh my God!
It's been a long time.
I'm dated.
Yes, he was.
I must be seeing reruns.
And he was awesome in his time and did amazing things for educating people. But his son, I think, continues his efforts. His son at least has appeared, like on television, showing off animals on
talk shows.
On talk shows, yeah.
So here I am, Abita Amber, made right across the causeway, in the fair state, Louisiana, at the Springs. I've been there, been to the brewery, tasted their fare on draft, ate their food. Quaint little town.
Lovely.
And about the only beer I drink when I'm here. Everybody has it, and it's always cold. So we saw a little New Orleans music last night. We went down to Spotted Cat. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. I've got a video. I've got to figure out how to send you videos that are longer than a minute.
Indeed.
They won't. And I've got a problem with my editing, my videos. There's a pair of scissors there. You show what you want. You press cut. It doesn't happen. It's so not intuitive. It doesn't make sense. Show what you want. Press the scissors. It should cut it. No.
Modern life is so complicated.
Modern life. Ah, yes.
If I tap the scissors, I wanted to cut the clip. Cut the clip.
Yeah, it's not unreasonable.
Clip the cut.
So, great music last night. New Orleans Jazz. Tuba player was fantastic.
Tuba player was fantastic.
Yes.
How? I'm curious about jazz tuba. I'm sure I can look up on YouTube some jazz tuba.
New Orleans Jazz tuba.
Yeah.
Specific. So the tuba takes the place of the bass.
Indeed. Yes.
So we got a bass player. That's what the tuba's doing.
Right.
And man, I'll tell you, that's heavy. This dude last night, man, he just drove it. He drove it like a good bass player drives any good band.
Nice.
And a guitar player, a trumpet player, a trombone player, a woman singer.
Lots of brass.
And a drummer in a little joint where they were mic'd, but it was minimal mic. We didn't need much by way of mic.
And this is just on a random Tuesday evening.
It's that way at the Spotted Cat every night of the week. I've been going there for years, and I've never been disappointed with who's playing, ever. Not one time. It's just authentic, local stuff.
Now we want to go.
The New Orleans Jazz Band. A woman singer's name is Marla. Her husband's the banjo player. The best I've heard. This woman, and she's a trumpet player. Excellent aficionado.
Mm-hmm.
So I seek her out. She usually plays on Wednesdays, which is tonight. Tonight we're going to Bacchanal, which is an outdoor.
You've mentioned that before. That's
shop.
The crazy wine bar place.
Yes, it's just so laid back and
chill,
and the table settings invite people to sit with each other who don't know each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you mentioned that last time, and I found photos of that place, and it looks exactly like you say. Lovely.
Acoustic or near acoustic music. And one woman singer, I've got to remember these bands' names, but she was from Brazil, and she played a ukulele-sized bass. And her husband played a guitar.
I have heard a bass ukulele before.
These two just killed it with these French songs and Brazilian songs and just melodious, and her voice was wonderful. And he was no slouch with his harmony, and he did sing one song.
Yeah, it's kind of fun when you come across bands that are so much more talented than your average playing in a bar band. Not to throw you under the bus at all.
Right.
But that's like when on my last trip to America, I saw 2 different live acts. And one was a typical talented guitar situation, and the other was this Italian couple that had come in, especially because they had met one of the locals on MySpace 10 years ago, and had become friends, and they came in and were just unfucking believable. They were just so good in a totally different. Like, you can tell when people are in a totally different level than what your local every week talent is. These people were professionals at a higher level, and it was just amazing. So I imagine that in New Orleans, it's oftentimes you get that higher level just all the time.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I've been in places that I don't like the bands that I've left because they're not playing particularly good. But when you've got 60 choices, 60 bands playing in a city that's not all that big. Mm-hmm. But where some artistry is the different street corners that the musicians will tell you, like Waylon Thibodeaux said, I don't know how many of you come to New Orleans. That's where we live. And from Thursday through Sunday, every night, we play on the corner of St. Peter's and Bourbon Street. So come down there and see us.
Mm-hmm.
And they set up on the corner with their amps and their whatever they need to have, or not. And he plays a regular fiddle, and they're playing. I don't know if they're electrified on the street. If they bring a generator, they would be.
Right.
But that's a street corner, and I've heard of a woman who's a clarinet player who played on a street corner, only to find out that she had received the nation's top honor for her reaching the pinnacle of her career as a clarinetist, and that she was the ambassador of music for different events through our nation's recent history through her lifetime. And when we went to the street corner to listen to her and sat on the curb or leaned up against the building, in the hot sun of the day, and she's playing underneath umbrellas and whatnot, oh my God, it was beyond words.
Yeah.
That it was so amazingly talented. And she was so blue collar and grateful about it. You know?
Often the most amazing people are so humble.
Like Trump? Is that who you're referring to? Nobody's more humble than him.
Well, that's very much the opposite of what I was saying. It turns out, are you familiar with the Dunning-Kruger Effect? Have you heard this?
Remind me. I believe I am, but
it's
my listener may have forgotten as I have.
It's this concept that the more you know about a particular field of information, the less confident you are about how expert you are. So if you don't know anything, you think, oh yeah, I know all about all of this stuff. But then the more that you learn, the more you start to doubt, and the more you start to think, well, actually, I don't really have any idea what I'm talking about. And so
What's it called?
The Dunning-Kruger Effect.
Dunning-Kruger. Wow.
Yeah, and actually, it was mostly done by Kruger, but then Dunning went and put his name first. But that's neither here nor there.
Alphabetical.
Well, that would be his argument. But anyway, it's this concept that if you think about it and you observe your own life, it happens all the time, and it's very, very self-evident that you think, oh, I know, I'm pretty good at I don't know, driving or something. But then the people that actually study how to drive, better than your average person, that's maybe a bad example, but the more that you learn about a particular thing, the more you start to doubt how smart you are. And the paradox is that when you don't know how much you don't know, your ignorance, you think that you know more, so you don't understand how much you don't know. And this is so true about...
Because the smarter you are, the smarter you're able to understand what you don't know.
Exactly. That's a great way of putting it. So
it's in the consulting world, the worst customer is one who doesn't know
what they don't
know.
Exactly. So that so defines Trump, that he's so confident about all this stuff that he really has no clue about, and but he doesn't. But it's not his. He doesn't know that he doesn't know what he doesn't know. It's a very complicated situation.
Did you hear that Warren now is articulated as the leading candidate?
Yes.
It's no longer a potential 1 or 2 day blip. That at the debate last night, no one was attacking Biden and left him alone.
Yeah.
And they turned on her as a clear signal of two things. One, if you want to get a name of yourself before Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, you better end up in the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
You better end up in the top 4 by the time you get through New Hampshire. So the polls in New Hampshire, I understand, are starting to show a climb by Mayor Buttigieg.
Buttigieg.
Yes, Buttigieg.
Yes.
Buttigieg. What is it?
Buttigieg.
Buttigieg.
It sounds like I'm burping, but Buttigieg. Yes.
Mayor Pete.
Yes, we'll call him that. Yeah.
Mayor Pete.
And yeah, great.
So there was, I missed the debate, but I've read quite a bit about it, and apparently Mayor Pete said to Beto O'Rourke standing on his own rather heroic military career, said to Beto O'Rourke, "I certainly don't need a lesson from you on what courage really means." Because Beto was doing his usual and not terribly wrong-headed kind of castigation. It takes courage to do this and take this stand. Because Mayor Pete, I think, was saying that his stand on a mandatory buyback of AK-47s was not only impossible to imagine, but there was no real plan for it. And all it did was make people who are, I don't know how much this was clearly articulated, but certainly you and I would agree that people in the center who hear somebody saying stuff, and while it may make perfectly good moral sense to suggest such a thing, except label the Democratic Party as extremist, which Mayor Pete takes up the space that's currently occupied by Joe Biden. And by the time we get to New Hampshire, Biden will certainly survive to South Carolina, but who's number 4? Who's number 4? Klobuchar?
No.
She did quite a job last night, too, by all degrees. I did see an interview with her afterwards. She's very plain spoken. She's very clearly articulate.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't. She doesn't have the charisma that some of the other candidates. She's very low on charisma. She's friendly. She's nice, but she just doesn't.
She's not presidential.
Actually, yeah.
To put a word on it.
I'd like to see Warren in action, but we'll see what Mayor Pete does. I'm impressed with anybody who's got any level of executive experience.
Right.
Which, if you've spent, I don't know what Elizabeth Warren did before she was an elected official. You have to find out. Was she a school teacher? Something like that?
I have no idea.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't have any idea.
Yeah, I heard that that Beto kept responding to things sort of half in Spanish with a really bad Spanish accent.
Is it? Is it bad?
I have not heard it, but that is what I heard from a friend that knows Spanish. So
necesitamos incluir cada persona en el éxito de esta economía. Pero si queremos hacer eso, necesitamos incluir cada persona en nuestra democracia. Cada votante necesitamos la representación y cada voz necesitamos escuchar.
Well, what do you speak?
Sort of this deep-throated talking, like I have a lot of gravitas, and I'm really very.
Don't you speak Spanish?
I'm really very similar to deep-voiced actors. Do I speak Spanish? Sí, hablo español.
So why do you say that you have to rely on your friend to tell you that the accent is terrible?
Because I didn't see any of the video.
Oh, you haven't heard him.
Yes.
Oh,
I feel confident that I would agree, but I did not watch the event. And why would I? Because
there's so many.
Yeah. My research has shown me that your T-shirt is the Division Bell. This is for sure predates Pink Floyd by a couple thousand years. This idea of two faces in silhouette looking at each other that, when put close together, look like one face. Which is that whole
weird. It's weird, man.
It's like, are we two or are we one, man?
I keep looking at it. One moment it's the one, and then one moment it's the other. It's like, whoa.
I know, right?
Stop this.
It's
right?
Yes.
Right? No. Yeah. Right?
So. I think we should bid each other farewell this evening, because we are at our wit's end. Speaking for myself.
Your wit.
My wit ended like 20 minutes ago.
Started slow and ended abruptly. That's
indeed.
That's what I could say. You're as sharp as a tack as ever. And I'm off to Bacchanal. I sign off.
Yes.
I bid you adieu. Adieu, mon ami.
Au revoir.
If you've enjoyed what you just heard, you can support us by telling a friend or sharing us on social media. Monthly donations to help us pay for hosting and editing can be provided at patreon.com/happyhour. That's all one word, happy hour. All our episodes, including show notes for each episode, are available on our website, happyhour.fm. You can tweet at us at happyhour.fm, that's with a dot spelled out, happyhour.dotfm, or we can receive email at the same name, happyhour.dotfm@gmail.com. It would also be great if you could give us a positive rating on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. That really helps other people find us. See you next week.